Welcome back. It is Miss Johns' math time, which means your math notebook should be out and ready to go. We are going to start with chapter 7 and do some notes here. So, chapter 7 is all about multiplying fractions. So, I told you multiplying fractions is very, very simple. So, let's take 2/3 times 1/2. Now, when adding and subtracting, we had to make sure our denominator was the same. In multiplying fractions, you don't have to do that. Multiplying fractions is as simple as multiplying the numbers on top and then multiplying the numbers on the bottom. So, if we want to solve 2/3 times 1/2, we could do 3 times 1 over 3 times 2. And your answer would be 3 times 1 equals 3, and 3 times 2 equals 6. So it would be 3/6. Now, the thing with multiplying fractions is we have to reduce, because when we're multiplying things together, they get bigger. And the problem is we have to put things in simplest form. So, in order to reduce, we have to look at this. Okay? 3 and 6 are both factors of each other. So, we know we can divide by 3. And we can get 1/2. Okay, that is how you multiply and reduce fractions. Now there's a whole nother way we can do it, and I'm going to go over that eventually, but right now I want to focus on multiplying fractions. Okay, so our next fraction, 3/5 times, let's see, 1/6. Okay, so again, we rewrite it 3 times 1 over 5 times 6 equals 1 times 3 is 3, 5 times 6 is 30. Okay? And that's how you multiply fractions. You simply multiply across. So that's the easy part. The little more challenging part is knowing when to reduce. But again, we talked about that back in chapter 6. And if you need to refresh, you can always go back and watch that video. Okay, but 3 and 30 can be reduced because they're both divisible by 3. 1 and 10. Okay, so it reduces to 1/10. So 3/5 times 1/6 is equal to 1/10. Okay, there is an easier way to reduce before you multiply. And again, this isn't a 5th grade level skill, but you know I like to challenge your skills and teach you some things that, are a little more advanced for you. And if you don't understand it, you do not have to use it. But this was an easier way to reduce before you multiply. And again, you don't have to use it. But I want to show it to you anyways. So let's take this 3/5 and 1/6. Now we already know what the answer is because we already did it. But I want to show this to you. Okay, before we multiply, let's look at our numbers. And we look at the numbers across from each other. Okay? Now, 1 and 5 you can't do anything with. Okay, but 3 and 6. 3 and 6, 6 is a multiple of 3. So if I know that I can cross off the 3 and make it a 1. And I know 3 times 2 is 6, so I can reduce it and put a 2. So all I did here was I reduced it here before I went and multiplied it. So I'm applying the same principle I did up here, but doing it first down here. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So I crossed them off and I have smaller numbers now. So when I multiply 1 times 1 and 5 times 2, my answer is still 1/10. Now, I know this can seem a little difficult, or you can say, Miss Johnson, I have no idea what you're talking about. And if you don't, that's okay. Maybe ask mom and dad and they can explain it a little better than I can. Because it's not a hard concept, but trying to explain it to you over a video is a little difficult for Miss Johnson to get her point across. But if you like that method, you go ahead and do that, and it guarantees that it'll be a more reduced number, so you don't have to reduce at the end. So all this is doing is reducing first before you multiply. All right, let's try another one. Let's try 7/10 times 2 over 5. Okay, so I'm going to look at my numbers. 7 and 5, they don't have any numbers in common, so I can't reduce those. But 2 and 10, now those I can. Okay, 10 and 2 go into each other. 2 goes into 2 one time, and 2 goes into 10 5 times. Okay, so now I'm just going to multiply. 7 times 1, 5 times 5. So now I have 7/25. And I can't reduce it anymore because they're both odd numbers. And 7 is a prime number. So only 1 and 7 go into it, and 1 and 7 don't go into 25. So that would be our answer. But that's how you multiply, just simply taking the numbers and multiplying them across. Now, there's one other kind of multiplying that we do. And what if I had 2/4 times 7? We have a whole number and a fraction. Oh, I know, Miss Johnson, this is the answer. Okay, if you put 7 and 2/4, you better cross it out right now because that's wrong. Okay, we are not adding, but good try. I like when you think ahead and you try, and it's okay because I said if we make mistakes, we're learning. Okay, so how do I solve this silly thing? Well, I'm going to ask you a question. How can I change that whole number into a fraction without changing its value? Remember, it has to maintain its value at all times. It cannot change. So if you said, oh, let's put 7/7. Okay, well, that is a good idea, a good try, but 7/7 is actually equal to how much? It's equal to 1, okay? 7 is not equal to 1. Okay, so I like the idea. If you guys thought about that, that means you're thinking you're on the right track. But the 7 has to maintain its value. It has to stay a 7. So what number could we put under the 7 to have it maintain its value? Think about it. You're right, it's a 1. Okay, so when we have any whole number, 7, 10, 15, 25 million, in order to multiply it by a fraction, you have to turn it into a fraction. And you do that by putting over 1. Because remember I told you this line means division. So 7 divided by 1 is just 7. And our whole number is 7. And when it goes over 1, it still maintains the value of a 7. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so let's multiply. 2 times 7 over 4 times 1 equals 14/4. Now, what is it called when our numerator is bigger than our denominator? An improper fraction. Very good. Now, this is how it's supposed to happen because we just took a whole number and put it over a 1. So you're going to have whole numbers in here. Remember we talked about how do we solve an improper fraction? We take 4 and we divide it by 14. You take the denominator and divide it into the numerator. So 4 goes into 14 how many times? 3. Very good. 3 times 4 is 12. Remainder of 2. Now remember, this is our whole number. So our quotient is our whole number. So it equals 3. Our remainder is our new numerator. And our denominator stays the same. So we have 3 2/4. Okay, that's a great answer, but we're not done. Okay, 2/4 can be reduced. So we have 3 2/4. 2 can go into both of them, so you divide by 2. You get 1/2. So 3 1/2 is our answer to 2/4 times 7. I hope that was a good explanation of how to multiply by whole numbers. We will do a couple more problems in the book with it. But I hope this helped, and please go back and review if you have any questions. Thanks for attending Miss Jones's Math Time.